Welcome to Hard Beautiful Journey, where we embrace vulnerability as our superpower and let courage light our path. I'm Tiff Carson, here to share heartfelt stories of healing, grief, and resilience. Each week, I'll talk with guests from experts to everyday heroes about their journeys through adversity. Together, we'll uncover the beauty that emerges from life's challenges and how each experience can spark profound growth. Join us on this courageous journey of connection and transformation. Hi, I'm Tiff Carson. Welcome back to Hard Beautiful Journey. I haven't been behind the mic since about April, and it's because I've been a little bit busy, but I wanted to start this podcast off this season with it being a live podcast. And part of the interview with my next guest will explain why that happened. She might have had something to do with it, or part of the reason why I'm doing this. And I'm super grateful to her. So we're going to do this messy, as you obviously saw from that beginning. I need to work on that a little bit. But the reason why I want to do it live is because I honestly don't have time to do the behind the scenes stuff like I used to do with the post-production. And the reason why is because I am starting to really focus on speaking. And I had the incredible honor of going to my hometown of Shaunavon, Saskatchewan last week and delivering 2 keynotes, one to the high school students, which was so incredible, and then to some beautiful community members. And I can honestly say it was actually one of the highlights of my life. It was so incredible. I was super nervous, but I feel really good about it. So that is why we're doing this now. But let's get to today's episode with my friend, Jennifer Gardner. I have known this woman since high school, and I recently reconnected with her, and you'll soon see why my heart is so happy to have her in my life again. Who is Jen? Jen is a resilient survivor and dedicated mom of 2. She is passionate about living a life filled with purpose and healing. As a fitness instructor, she empowers others to tap into their physical strength while embracing the power of holistic wellness. Her journey of personal growth and spiritual exploration has made her a beacon of inspiration for those seeking balance and transformation. Beyond her fitness and healing work, she's an avid traveler, finding joy and connection in exploring the world and its diverse cultures. With a deep belief in the body's ability to heal and the spirit's capacity to thrive, Jen tries to make an impact in the lives of others, both near and far. So, welcome to the screen, Jen. Please hold. There she is. It worked. It worked.
Hi.
Hold on. Yay, I can hear you. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yes.
You can still hear me. This is working. Oh my gosh.
Perfect.
Jen. I am so happy that you are my first guest on this live journey thing that I'm doing. And before we get into your journey, I'm going to tell people how I got back into your life. Okay. So
absolutely.
I was scrolling Facebook like I sometimes do, and I don't see all of Jen's posts. You know how the algorithm is a pain in the ass, and I don't see a lot of what people post, but I know the universe and God do things in really cool ways. And all of a sudden, this post comes up from Jen that she is starting to do Reiki and tarot readings. And I was just like, interesting. And I know a lot of people that do Reiki and a lot of people that do tarot, but something, and I listen to that nudge now all the time, and something nudged me to say, reach out to Jen and get this done. And so I did, and I got a Reiki session and a tarot reading from you a couple months ago, about. And it was in that reading that you pulled some cards for me. You did an amazing Reiki session, and there was stuff coming out of my head, right? Remember that? It was like burning up. And that is when we talked about doing my podcast again and getting behind the mic and doing it messy. And I listened to you. Are you proud of me?
So very proud. Really, truly amazing.
I could not get it out of my head after I saw you. I was like, okay, no, I need to do this because I need to get back behind the mic and talk to people that have really impactful stories that can help other human beings. And you are definitely one of them. And I remember when I left, I was like, no, she needs to be my first guest for sure on this episode. And here you are. So thank you for being here, Jen.
Thank you so much, Tish. That's absolutely beautiful. I so enjoyed our time together and reconnecting, and your session was incredible. Yeah. So I'm glad you took my advice, not my advice, the universe's advice.
Yep.
And here we are today. I love it.
And here we are today. And so let's get into your hard, beautiful journey. And let's talk about 5 years ago. Was it 5 or 6 years now?
Just over 5. Yeah.
Just over 5. So let's talk about your cancer diagnosis and how that all came to be, and we'll go from there.
Sure. So 5 years ago in June, I found well, it was actually 2 years before that, I had found like a bit of a mass on my left breast, and it came out of nowhere. Like it was just not there one day and then there the next. And I went to the doctor and sent me for a mammogram, and it just said I've always had very dense, lumpy breasts, and it said that, we're just going to monitor it. So I went back every 6 months for a little while, and they just kept saying, we're just going to monitor this. And then finally, it had gotten so big that there was like 100% chance in my head that it wasn't cancer because it was so big. I was like, there's no way. Like we learn in school that, you find like a pea-sized thing, and it was protruding. Went for a biopsy. Lo and behold, it came back and it was cancer. So was really quick. 10 days later, I was in the hospital having a full left mastectomy. It came back that it was a 17.5 centimeter tumor.
Holy crap.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, massive. Yeah, it pretty much took up my whole left breast. So fast forward a couple months, I was in chemo. I had a great plan, great oncologist. I'd gone for scans. I'd been cleared to get chemo. It was a stage 3 tumor, so they were going to do 4 months of chemo. It was very intense. And then a month in to my chemo, an angel radiologist, for some reason, got a nudge to look back at a scan of mine because there was a teeny, 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 tiny, I guess, something that they didn't love on there. So she went back in and found that it had metastasized all over my spine. So now I was re-diagnosed as metastatic breast cancer, stage 4. So it was,
Wow.
the first diagnosis was hard. The second diagnosis was devastating.
Mm-hmm.
So I continued on, did my chemo, the whole thing, lost all my hair, blah, blah, blah. And after that, the journey started. The journey of healing began.
Mm-hmm.
I dove deep. I knew that, and I'd always said this, if you Google what the prognosis is for stage 4 cancer, breast cancer, it's not good. And I've always kind of used the mantra that I will accept your diagnosis, but I will not accept your prognosis. Mm-hmm. And that's how I've kind of gone through the last 5 years of my life, is just day to day understanding that healing is in my own hands.
Mm-hmm. It is. So what were some of the challenges
Hmm.
that you faced during your treatment and recovery?
Well, treatment was interesting because chemo is a beast of its own. I went into it very healthy, which is why I always got that like, oh, you're so healthy. I taught fitness. I drink my green juices every day. I was not very stressful. Um, so I went into chemo and it was hard. Lost all my hair, and especially after getting that second diagnosis, I I went inside quite a bit. Like I can't even explain how when you're faced with imminent death for the first time in your life, it's a very interesting concept. Like you look out, everybody knows that they're going to die at some point, but we don't live with it. We
Mm-hmm.
don't live with that, like knowing that it's going to happen. So the first little while, I was very much why me. Like I definitely was, why is this happening to me? I've done everything right my whole life. I'm a good person.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, why is this happening? So I think that was probably the biggest struggle is the why. And I really had to understand that the letting go of the why was going to get me healthy because it didn't matter. What happened in the past happened. It didn't matter. Now I'm looking forward.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. What was your family's initial reaction to this, and how did they work through it?
Well, at the time, my son was going into kindergarten and my daughter was going into grade 6. So I think we for them we downplayed it a lot. Like we
Mm-hmm.
just, I didn't want this to run their lives. So we did a really we made a really conscious effort to just be like, hey, mommy's gonna be okay. We're just gonna move forward. You know, this is what it's gonna be. I don't know if you can hear my dog. He's going
Hey,
crazy right now, Steph.
um, I've been at Jen's house, and this dog is actually obsessed with her. So if you want your dog to
He
sit on your
totally is.
lap, bring your dog onto
Well,
your
I
lap.
think this is the messy part. He needs water, so I'm just going to be back in 1 second.
Absolutely.
Here,
We're live and
enjoy
it's
my
all
fireplace.
good. Honestly, this dog, oh my gosh. Jen got this dog when she was going through her recovery. Um, and honestly, this dog is attached to her and is so adorable. Do you want to hold
Too
your
funny.
dog? Does your dog want to be with you?
He'll come up here if he needs to. Yeah,
Okay.
I'll honor him.
Well, look,
Okay,
see,
back to
look,
my
there's
family.
mine too.
Sorry, Jeff. Ah. Oh, that's adorable.
So
Aww.
we need our dogs.
So yeah, you know what? It's one of these things. It really brought me and my husband together. Really, a lot tighter too because he was my person through the whole thing,
Hmm.
and what I couldn't do, he did for me. Like I couldn't. I refused to Google anything. I refused to look at books. I did zero research into it. I just fully entrusted him that he knew what was right for me in that sense. And I just focused on myself and feeling good and feeling centered. So
Hmm.
yeah, it was a hard time.
That's amazing. So, what do you think was your most vulnerable moment in the depths of it, like the throes of it, and how did you pull yourself through that?
Well, it was interesting. When I was doing chemo, I felt really good and I felt like I was doing something. It was after that things got really, really hard. I think it was because when I was in treatment, everything was it was hard and I felt like crap but I was actually doing something. I was like being proactive about it.
Mhm.
And I was seeing my doctor every 2 weeks. And then after was the really hard part because now it was like, how do I live the rest of my life, however long that's going to be, feeling like I can do this, feeling like I'm not going to go down that dark spiral, which I did. And I did have a dark night of the soul where it was about 2 months after treatment. My hair was just growing back, and everyone else's life went back to normal.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd had so much support during, and everyone's life kind of moved on and went back to normal. And here I was trying to decide how I was going to live the rest of my life. And that's when the literal decision came: either I'm doing this or I'm checking out. And it was the decision to just, okay, this is what the universe gave you. What are you going to do with it? And that's where the deep healing started. So that was vulnerable, because this whole time I was like, why did this happen to me? This is so unfair. What a fluke. Like, this is unlucky. So then I had to start peeling back the onion and figure out why this happened.
Mm-hmm.
And that for me was the most vulnerable, because I had to look at some really, really, really hard, dark things in my life. The major shadow work started.
Wow. I'm trying to not cry here because it's amazing that dark night of the soul moment. Mine was when I was hiding behind the clothes in my closet from my kids because I was trying to decide if I was going to check out or I was going to peel back those layers and find out why I was dealt, sorry, the stuff that I was dealt, right? And that is the true start of my spiritual awakening, was where it was like, okay, why was I given this? Why was I given this road? And okay, I trust I was given this road for a reason, and it was to help other people. And so you saying that was your same experience is so comforting for me. Sorry, I didn't mean to get this emotional, but wow. Yeah, no, it's incredible how when you're at your darkest moment where you actually get the what is the words I'm trying to say, where you get those messages about what you're really here for and what your purpose is. So let's
Yeah,
talk
it's
about
pretty
yours.
incredible.
Let's get into
Yeah.
yours and what
I
happened
mean,
after that.
it all started, and I know people hate to hear this, but it all started on the meditation pillow. And
Uh-huh.
they offered the
Me too.
Tom Banks, the Cancer Center offered a mindfulness class for everybody for free, and it's a really amazing class. It's a really amazing class. It's MSBR, mindfulness based. Can't remember what it stands for now, but and I did it and started just sitting in quiet contemplation about where and why and how I was going to move forward. So it was I'd never meditated before. I always was that person that was like, oh, I can't do it, right? Like, I can't meditate. My monkey brain won't allow me to do this. And the clarity I think I got from that moment on the pillow the first time, I was like, oh, it was a radical responsibility to myself
Mm-hmm.
for my own healing, for my own way I'm going to show up in this world, for what I'm going to do from this day forward. And honestly, it was just messages after messages after
It's
messages
like a
after
fire hose
coincidences,
sometimes.
serendipities.
I
It's
had
crazy.
I
It's
had to get
crazy.
out all of my journals and like journal the heck out of what I was hearing, and not just hearing but like feeling inside of me. It's like, oh, what was it the same for you?
Totally. Yeah. Like so much. And the books just fell off the bookshelf for me to read.
Just magically, just
And it was crazy. It was like I'd go into Indigo and I'd be thinking, okay, I need to look for this type of book. And it was like in the children's section, just sat there waiting for me to pick it up. And I was like, what is going on?
uh-huh,
Yeah, it was wild. And
uh-huh.
so I learned to follow those nudges, like you said, and I learned to, like a spiritual awakening is interesting. It's like I'd lived 45 years up to this point, learning like one thing a year.
I know after
And
18,
like,
22 out of college, you're like, no, I'm good. I don't need any more learning. And then spiritual awakening starts and you're like, I need everything.
and it all just kept coming and coming and coming and coming. And for me, it was like, I really held really close to me. About a year after I was diagnosed, I started to feel really, really good. For the first time in my life, I started to feel really, really good. And I was like, for someone that was sick, I feel amazing. I feel the best I've ever been. I was honoring my body, my spirit, my mind, my emotions for the first time probably in my life. I was just really present, my kids and my family and my work. And I thought, I want everybody to feel this good without having to go through all the shit that I went through.
Mm-hmm.
How can we make that happen? And so it started. And so that healing journey and that spiritual journey started, and that's that's where I'm at now.
So what did you
There's been a
start
lot
with?
of wackiness along the
What
way.
was your big one that you did first besides
Okay,
meditation?
so yeah, besides meditation, probably picked up a lot of books about spirituality. That was kind of my thing. That was like my and podcasts. So I was like, I'm going to learn everything there is to know about the quantum field and all the woo woo. And I went deep really, really quick.
So did I.
I went deep into I know. I went deep into manifesting, deep into Oracle. I picked up tarot right away, did a lot of journaling. Yeah, I think that I went and saw a couple psychics, which
Mm-hmm.
gave me so much clarity. And then it just kind of tumbled into a little bit of witchcraft here and there,
Mm-hmm.
spell work, a little bit of astrology,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of tarot, and
Mm-hmm.
then Reiki. And Reiki was the big, big, big one for me because Reiki gave me the ability to control my energy, what I give out into the world, and the ability to take in all the juiciness that's available to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a big one. It was very obvious to me the first time I went to Reiki that for me this was the key to everything else that kind of came along.
How would you describe Reiki to somebody that has never even heard that word before and what it can do for
That's
them?
a really yeah, that's a great question. I always say so we have everybody has an external energy. So sometimes we call it chi, in yoga we call it prana, life force. We have this energy that keeps us alive. And the energy is abundant and available to everyone. And what it does is, and it can connect us with each other, with nature, with the stars. What Reiki does is it's the ability to use that life force energy to clear and energize our body because our body knows how to heal. And that was a big pillar for me in my healing journey was that if I can allow my body to heal, it will heal. And Reiki is one thing that can allow that to happen. So if we can just sit back, our body knows, and this is emotionally, spiritually, physically, our bodies are meant to heal. It's us. It's the stories we tell ourselves. It's the blocks that we put up that don't allow that to happen. So what Reiki can do is it can allow our bodies to go back to homeostasis, to line up, and to heal like it's supposed to.
Mm-hmm. What
Beautiful.
does, so for my Reiki session, I'm totally an open book, so we can talk about what mine was. When Jen was doing Reiki on me, when she got to my head, I physically felt like there was fire coming out of my head. And that was because this chakra is what it's called, was very active, right? Very active, and it needed to not be so active. And so what Reiki does is it brings those energy centers back to a state of, what would you call it? Alignment.
Yep.
Yeah.
Alignment, unblocked, or homeostasis I like to use because it's
Yeah.
kind of like feeling like everything back to one.
Yeah. And so, yeah, after I left your house, I was like, yeah, no, I could feel that. Before I got there, I knew that I was jacked up. Like I had a lot going on in my brain and a lot going on in my energy field. And when I left, I was absolutely calm. And I got a lot more clarity. And then you did the tarot reading for me, and some of those messages came through. And I think that because we had done the Reiki session and then the tarot reading, that I was open, and my energy was open to hearing those messages and really absorbing what messages were meant for me that day. Does that make sense?
100%. Absolutely. So we walk around with stories in our heads, and we're so chaotic in our daily lives. That's just what we've become. And being present is a challenge because we're being pulled in so many different ways. And um, what Reiki can do is it can give us, like you said, give us clarity, help us focus, and then to do a tarot reading right after that. You were surrounded by your angels in there too. Let's not forget.
Oh, yes, I was.
Yeah,
All the
it came in.
time.
It came in fast and furious during that. I
Mm-hmm.
felt it. It was palpable. Um, so you were so open at the end of our Reiki session to your higher self, which is what tarot pulls in. It pulls in guidance from the universe, guidance from our higher self. That's the self that sits kind of around us, that's all knowing. That if we can clear the blocks and we can erase our stories for just a moment's time, we can get the messages that we truly, truly, truly need.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes through beautifully, and it sticks, and it's
Mm-hmm.
awesome.
It did stick. And I honestly, like I said earlier, I came home and and the universe is very interesting. No word of a lie. A couple days after our session, I was doing a lot more other people's podcasts where I was getting interviewed. And a couple days after our session, I did a podcast with somebody that does a live show. And I had never been on one before. And when I hopped onto his call, I was like, huh, interesting. We just kind of talked about this 2 days ago. So, okay, I'm listening. I got the message from Jen, from my higher self through Jen. And then I was shown 2 days later, okay, here is how you do it. And I took note and I left that interview and I was like, well, that didn't look really difficult. Obviously, I made it look a lot harder at the beginning of this, but it really isn't that hard. Um, So, yeah, if you actually take the time to do these kind of practices like Reiki, and sit with yourself and listen through something like meditation, through a tarot reading, you can get a lot of insights. So, let's talk about tarot one more time because I told you before we hopped on that I pulled two cards. Did you pull two cards today or one card, or what did you do?
I went to my Oracle deck and pulled a
Oh,
card.
your
So
oracle.
it
Okay.
was, I did, yeah. So you show first.
Okay. So I pulled the Hierophant and the Knight of Wands. So those were the ones that I pulled. And just quickly, what are those? What do those mean in general?
Well, the Hierophant is very interesting because it's about spiritual awakening. And
Mhm.
so it's about tapping into um, your own church. And we use that, that word sometimes gets a bit bastardized in our society right now, but it is. It's about tapping into your community, your spiritual, the help that you need in guiding yourself to spirituality.
Mhm.
So that one was beautiful.
And
Yeah.
we
And the Knight
both
of Wands.
needed to talk
Yeah.
about our spiritual journeys in this episode. And I know that that was a message to really talk about that. And so for other people that are listening that are, you know, going in that direction, I guess, or like have those nudges that they know they're supposed to be listening to, I know that this card was pulled, this one, for you guys. So, and then the Knight of Wands.
Yeah, the Knight of Wands is all about creativity and forward movement. So that one's tapping directly into your, foray into this podcast. This is you moving absolutely forward into using your creativity to move forward and to make something great of it.
I
Yeah,
know. And
it's
it's,
a great card. It's very
wow,
fiery.
so very fiery. Okay, what did you pull?
Well, I pulled from this. Yeah, this is my favorite deck. It's the
Rebecca Campbell, love her.
Worker Life. I know she's so good. And I pulled the Inner Temple. So this card's all about tuning into the portal of your heart. And I really needed that today because it's about devotion and it's about tapping into your story
Mhm.
and what's deep, deep, deep seated in your truth and being raw and vulnerable and honest and really tuning into that heart center and just bringing it forward. Because that's how we heal the world. It's not,
Mhm.
it's not going to happen if we're all out here, we're working out here, we're doing out here. Healing comes, it's so, so, so deeply centered in your own experiences, in your own heart, in your own reality. So peeling back that onion and just looking at that's where the healing's going to happen.
There within yourself, but then also sharing that with others is where that healing comes. And I don't think it's so my new logo stuff is all about the heart. So interesting that you pulled an oracle card about the heart. It's just so freaking cool. I love it.
It's
So,
so much, is me too. Yeah.
Jen, what is your status now with your health?
Well, it is nothing short of miraculous. So I am 5 years in, and I am what the doctors call quiescent, which just means that there's a total quieting of all the cancer. It's the very best version of my diagnosis that you could get.
Mhm.
And my doctor is quite funny. He's just a typical oncologist. And so he just says, whatever you're doing, just keep on doing because I can't explain it. And I'm like, me, this is what I'm doing.
This is what I'm doing. And my
Mm-hmm.
heart is so, so, so happy that that is where you are at in this journey, for you, for your family. And I'm just so, so grateful that we've reconnected. And what are, let's say, two of your highest recommendations for somebody that's going through what you're going through to help them feel better today?
That's a great question. I think quieting your mind, even if it's for a couple minutes a day, just to self reflect on where you're at, to be more present in your life, get out in nature, connect with what's really, really important. I think that that is the shift in our minds that we need in order to tackle any hard thing that comes our way. Mm-hmm. Is that centering and knowing that no matter how crazy this life could be, there's a lineup in heaven to get here, because we can learn so much, we can grow so much, and we can deeply, deeply, deeply heal all of our wounds in this lifetime and generations by just sitting in our heart center. Mm-hmm. That's definitely one. And I would say the other one is just be curious. Be curious about where your spiritual journey is going to go. And it's interesting, the veil is really lifting in our world right now. And what was so woo-woo even 5 years ago is just becoming mainstream now. Mm-hmm. There's a Reiki healer on every corner. There's tarot everywhere. There's psychics popping up all over the place. So be curious about, is there more to this life than just, what's here? Mm-hmm. The curiosity piece, I think, will help us play. It helps us kind of make sense of things.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. All right. So where can people find you if they want to know more about you, if they want to get a Reiki session, tarot session with you? Where can people find you?
I would love that. They can just go to my Instagram. It's Jen Gardner 888 on Instagram. And there it is.
What the heck? It actually worked, you guys. Jen Gardner 888 on Instagram. Oh my gosh. This is so much fun. Awesome. I love this.
I know, it's great.
Okay, I end every episode, and I'm not going to change that probably till the end of time, asking my guest what they are grateful for today.
Well, I am grateful that you and I reconnected, and that I can bring a little bit of light into this world through Reiki, through tarot, through connections with amazing people. I've deep gratitude to that. And I appreciate being your first guest on your new live and your new foray into this podcast world, which is crazy. And yeah, I'm just grateful to be able to spread my message and to give people hope that no matter what comes your way, there's always a tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. My gratitude for today is for sure you. I'm grateful that you are doing this work to help other people, and that you put that post on Facebook and I actually listened to my nudge. I'm grateful that I'm listening to my nudges, and that one of those messages that you gave to me from my higher self was to start this podcast back up, because I know it's needed. I know that there's people that need to hear these kind of messages and hear hope in some of the stuff that they're going through. So that is what I'm grateful for today. So thank you, Jen. I am going to play an outro, it's called now, and we're going to see if this actually works, okay? So thank you for doing this with me.
Thank you, Tiff. I hope we can do it again.
Okay. Hold on. I'm going to play this. Ready? Thanks for being here for this episode of Hard Beautiful Journey. I hope today's episode inspired you to embrace your own vulnerabilities and recognize the strength within you. Remember, every story of resilience adds to the beauty of our shared journey. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, subscribe, and leave a review. Your support helps me spread hope and healing to even more listeners. Until next time, keep shining your light and embracing the beauty in your journey. Bye-bye.